from her perspective, is there something else going on? Like, and I love that because now you have that little breadcrumb, rooting around in the back of your head while everything else is happening. All right, welcome to the podcast. This is an awesome episode. We are going to do a film analysis of The Inhabitant, which was actually a script that was optioned off of InkTip, one of our sponsors at our Script Summit Screenplay contest. So absolutely excited to have on Chris Cookson and Thomas Blakely, staff from InkTip. Thanks for being on, guys.
Thank you.
All right, cool. So I'm going to hit you with the logline from The Inhabitant, first of all. This is a Lizzie Borden story. A series of supernatural events reveal a dark truth behind a tormented teenager. I love the logline. It just nails it. I can see why producers were going on and reading this script on the site.
Actually, the script wasn't on InkTip. It's an interesting story of how it got optioned through our site. So the writer, Kevin, had actually a different script posted on InkTip that Leone wanted to option, but Kevin's other script was already under option. So Kevin actually was pretty smart and was like, okay, you like my writing. This one's not available. I have this one instead, which was going by the name of Blood Relative, I believe.
Okay.
And so they connected through InkTip, but it actually ended up being a script that he wasn't showcasing at the time that the producer picked up.
But see, that's such a cool thing about your site is I think some people go on there and they go, oh, okay, I'll just post my script and walk away. But the business is about building relationships. And if you go on there and you have a script and a producer reads it and then they like it, when they're open to it, that means they like your voice. Then create that relationship, reach out to them. I have this, he did it absolutely right. And through that connection was able to get a script made with some incredible stars. I mean, let's just talk about the talent on The Inhabitant. You've got Odessa A'zion, who was in the most recent reboot of Hellraiser on Hulu, the Hulu original, which we actually did a film analysis on. She crushes it. You've got Liz Broadway, who's like blowing up right now. She's on Gen V, which is a boys spinoff on Amazon Prime. I'm currently binging. She is fantastic. And then you've got Leslie Bibb and Dermot Mulrooney, who have been in everything. So, I mean, the talent that they have on this script, on this film, is incredible. And all of that happened just through a connection on your site. So I think it's absolutely fantastic. All right, so let's start with the opening. What I really like about the opening of this script, of this film, is we see her playing what is it? Lacrosse?
Field hockey.
Field hockey. All right, thank you. Because I'm like, all I know is that the sticks are curved and I'm lost. But so they're playing that game. I don't know anything about sports ball. Can we just get that on the record right now? So I don't care what they're playing. I don't know what it is. So they're playing that. She gets tripped up, and so she ends up face down, but then she gets up and she fights back. And I like that because it shows, okay, this character is a fighter. This character is going to not be a pushover, which is a great way to introduce her to the audience. So from there we meet the best friend, Susie, and what I think is great. And now let's talk about misdirection, because spoilers, guys, is a film analysis. So what I love about misdirection, we get a couple of kills and we are led to believe that it's going to be our main character, right? Because a good film educates the audience on how they should watch it. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. But when you're watching a good film, it's teaching you how to watch it. So it's setting up all of these things. She's getting these visions of Liz Borden and of Lizzie Borden. And so we're thinking, okay, she's going to be possessed. And this is going to be game over. We're going to follow her Breaking Bad into a killer, right? But then you get little moments where you think, oh, it might not be her. It's the best friend, right? The best friend has blood on her cuff. the best friend is super obsessed with her. So like, Thomas, tell me what you thought when you were watching these moments. Were you buying it?
I was certainly skeptical. I think what the film does really well is establishing the rules very early on. They're like the fact of this myth about Lizzie Borden and the fact that it recurs in the females of the family throughout history, and that women get visions and that they murder someone. That's established very early on, and then we're reminded of it when we go to see the sister later in the film, the sister of the mother who previously murdered her own child. And then the reveal happens towards the end. I don't know if we want to
not yet.
Spoil
we'll
that
there.
So early, but I think it does such a good job of teasing the audience with questions of, is this real? What's going on? But it's consistent. It's always consistent, and there's an internal logic to it that makes the audience curious about where this is going to go.
I think another thing.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think another thing that the film did that was interesting is it does set up the idea that Tara, you assume Tara's going to be the killer, but at the same time, it is dropping breadcrumbs of other potential suspects. Like there's a great line where it mentions about Dermot Mulroney's role, his character of like, he's very obsessive and protective over his family. And then you're kind of like, huh. And then, you know, there's the first shot of Leslie Bibb, honestly, in the movie gives you ideas like, is she a potential suspect? And then also the obsession that the best friend has, like clearly she's obsessed with Odessa's character, and you question what lengths she would go to protect her friend.
I think you're absolutely right. I building intrigue in a psychological horror is essential to keep people glued to the screen. Otherwise, they're flipping through Instagram. So I think they did a great job. And there was even a moment when they're at the kitchen table as a family, which we only see once, really. And Dermot Mulroney puts his hand on his daughter's hand in a supportive gesture, and then they flip to Leslie Bibb characters, the mother, noticing that, and now we build intrigue of, okay, what the hell is happening? Like, what is that moment? I mean, we learn that he is just being a supportive father, but from her perspective, is there something else going on? Like, and I love that, because now you have that little breadcrumb, you know, rooting around in the back of your head while everything else is happening. And that kind of leads me to the theme, which the theme kind of surprised me, because the theme is about hurting the ones you love. And it's not a theme that you expect watching this film, but it is prevalent in everything. And not just from the axe murdering perspective. I mean, there is clearly that, but let's look at Susie, her best friend's character, who loves her and is in love with her. See, there's the difference. Tara loves her best friend. Susie is in love with her best friend. And that unrequited love is painful to the point to where Susie is a cutter. And that's where we reveal the blood on her arm is from her cutting, not because she's going out and murdering people who have been treating Tara badly. And that's what we came to think in the film, because she mentions that, like, she wants to protect her and all of that stuff. And so, like, and seeing the performance of that was so powerful. So it's just these little breadcrumbs. And then, of course, there's the, you know, the mother put her sister in an insane asylum, and, you know, of course, you know, that's painful to witness, and the parents are constantly fighting and threatening divorce, to the point to where the 9-year-old is so used to hearing about divorce, he casually discusses it with his sister over cereal. What do you think about that, Chris?
Well, being a Gen Xer, from the generation of divorce. Granted,
yeah,
my parents did not get divorced, but it seemed like everybody was getting divorced around us. It feels like something kids would do when the parents aren't there. I mean, kids pick up on so much, way more than parents and adults give them credit for. And they're always the first to know before we are.
Yeah, as a Gen Xer, part of the divorced parents fan club, you know, going through it, I mean, back in the day, I think it's statistically back then 53% of married couples were divorcing. So more of your friends had divorced parents than kids who didn't, which is why, like, our generation, like, we're sticking together. We're like, so the divorce rate has really plummeted. I mean, it's because a lot of us went through that or watched people go through it. Thomas, what is your thoughts on that theme?
I think what's so intriguing about the film and effective is that that theme threads through every character and every single relationship, even the boyfriend, and the fact that he's going off to Stanford and that hurting Tara, but also like wanting him to go after what he wants, and that conflicting emotion. There's a lot of conflicting emotions in every relationship, and it ties everything together in a way that feels very satisfying, but also plays into the intrigue of what's going on and what amount of jealousy is going to be driving someone to murder. Because with this family curse, it could potentially be anyone.
Right. And I love the Lizzie Borden as a paranormal concept. I mean, I haven't seen it done before. I've seen Lizzie Borden done humorously, done as a comedy. I've seen Lizzie Borden done as a straight horror. We're watching Lizzie Borden kill her family. I have never seen a concept where we take Lizzie Borden as a supernatural paranormal character and we see a generational curse. I think that is so original and so cool by just taking something that's been done and putting enough of a twist on it that it's original again is actually quite brilliant. And then working in the script, is Lizzie Borden paranormal supernatural ghost, or is there some kind of chemical imbalance trait that is in this family that is being passed on genetically, and it's just manifested as these delusions, whether it's through the own family's, you know, mythology that's built into that. It's just such a fascinating take on it. Chris, what were you taking? Were you taking like this is a supernatural story, or these people are just they just have some kind of a significant psychological imbalance?
I don't know if I really made up my mind one way or the other. I kind of like to dive into a lot of the lore behind Lizzie Borden and the history behind it. So some of the things I was picking up on, I was like, oh, that's not actually her house. That's not the outside of what Lizzie Borden's house looks like. But, I mean,
that's so funny.
So I was getting a little too nitty gritty with that. But I think one, tying in the Lizzie Borden story, I think was a brilliant marketing choice, because this could have been a story about just any familial possession without a name attached, but you attach that and automatically you have viewers who are, you know,
you've branded it. You're right.
What's this? That was brilliant. I don't know if that was originally in the script or if that was something added in later rewrites or what, but that was a great marketing aspect. And as far as the, you know, is it paranormal or is it, you know, a natural chemical imbalance? I am of the Scooby-Doo camp where I always want it to be paranormal. I love the supernatural, but Thomas and I were talking about how it is an interesting commentary on, you know, mental health and our society's view of it. And if you don't know the Lizzie Borden story, it was never proved that she killed her parents. She lived out her life as a pariah in the town, and everybody assumed that she did it. And I'm sure the comments will blow up if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure she had a sister. So there was also speculation. Was it planned together? They didn't have the best home life with the dad and the stepmom. So the fact that it's interesting that we don't even know what her situation truly is. She could have been innocent.
Yeah.
So
I believe she was found innocent, right? She was not actually prosecuted.
Well, yeah, I don't think there was any evidence.
There was a case. She was prosecuted. She was taken to court, and I think she was acquitted.
Okay. Yeah. So that builds that mythology right there.
But we were talking about, Thomas and I were mentioning how that moment at the end where the dad's kind of nudging Tara and just being like, did you take it? And she's like, yeah, I took it. It's like, it's the acceptance of sometimes you just need to get help, and that's okay. And how supportive the father was throughout it all of trying to help her, I think is a good message to counterbalance all of the kind of questionable, like, is it supernatural? Is it mental illness? What's going on here?
Yeah, exactly. No, and I love that. And I love that acceptance of seeking help as part of her journey is absolutely brilliant.
I also don't know if it matters if it's supernatural or not, because the best horror functions in an ambiguity. Like the best horror functions where the supernatural elements serve as a metaphor for some kind of real world issue. Like with The Thing, Invasion of the Body Snatchers being a metaphor for communism, all the way to It Follows being a metaphor for STDs. Like, the fact that this stands in for mental illness is where it finds its strength. And the fact that this whole process this whole film is her coming to terms with the fact that she can't ignore these problems and she needs to get help. Whereas with the twist, it's showing the consequences of ignoring the problem and the fact that you will hurt your loved ones if you don't seek help.
No, I love that. It's absolutely spot on. Great take. I do want to talk about the midpoint death of the character structurally, which is where she's at the seance, because I thought the seance, one, incredible performance. Wow. And two, the twist of the seance. So she's sitting there and there, the lady who runs the B&B is gonna, summon Lizzie Borden and some kind of fake seance. And then the twist is that Tara is, quote, possessed by Lizzie Borden, but not in a traditional sense, because you can see how it's just the character is losing it at that moment, because she's kind of going back and forth between Tara and Lizzie, and absolutely terrifying scene. And the tears running down her face during the performance was just amazing. And then pulling out the axe and feeling like she's killing the lady, but she actually misses, which is a wonderful moment, like button to that scene. From there, we soon realize that, the huge twist, the real twist is that it's the mother. The mother is the killer, which is a great wild twist. You may see it coming, you may not, but there are hints to it. For instance, when the mother is rocking the baby, Tara walks in and she goes, "I love your hairstyle. It's very nostalgic." And here we're hinting at another one of those moments of, oh, okay, what is this? Well, it's because it's actually her, and we're letting the audience know, among other moments. So tell me about, like, your thoughts when the mom mentions that she's off her meds, she's doing the killings, she suspects her daughter of essentially sleeping with her father and trying to take her place, which is insane. And all of that going on. I want to hear your thoughts, Chris.
One thought I had was, I've always thought Leslie Bibb was underutilized in Hollywood. I mean, she's a great actress. And,
oh yeah, man.
And so it was fun. It was fun to see her have a very crazy dramatic moment.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I immediately thought back to the very moment we're first introduced to her character. Is she's literally ignoring helping her baby. And it's just, it sets up from the beginning that she's not entirely stable. And so it makes sense that she is the killer. And I found it an interesting choice to have Tara, you know, there's that moment where you think Tara ends up with the axe. And there's that moment you think she's gonna bring her mom down and stop her. And then the twist being the cops see her with the axe having killed her mom, and thus she's wrongly accused. But that's not where it goes.
No.
And there was that part of me that was kind of like, no, girl, kill her. But I think it was a more interesting choice to have her just back off and be like, do your worst, mom. Which, I don't know, maybe there's a metaphor in there about a mother-daughter relationship and how, you know, moms always mess up their daughters.
Well, it's part of her growth as a character, and I think that's a really great point. So, you know, at the end you get the essentially the death of your character and the rebirth, and that's what her moment is, you know. So the easy thing is to have Tara kill her mother, but by Tara killing her mother, she's accepting the possession as real. She's accepting her mental illness is taking over her life, and she's becoming the monster. So like, we can't go there. And I could see some like screenwriting instructors or gurus out there going, oh, she drops the axe. She's a passive character now. She's no longer active. The cop saves her life, and we lose that moment of the character. And I would happily debate them as being wrong, because she is actively choosing not to kill her mother and not to become the monster. And in so doing, she saves herself, and she becomes that which she becomes that what she thought she couldn't be, which was the person who could save her family. And so then the cop has to come in.
She's breaking the cycle of family trauma.
Absolutely. She's breaking that generational cycle of family trauma. I love that's brilliant. So that moment happens, and then you know, Leslie Bibb gets it, isn't killed off. So I think that's really interesting. But yeah, we have that moment, which then leads to her with the baby, picking the baby up. Did she take her meds? So I love all of that. Then we get to the end, and here's my beef with, I write horror movies, and so I have to do this bit, you know. But I'm always like, man, can't we just have an ending? So you know, the big reveal is that her brother is in the car, and you know, doing like what little 9-year-old kids do, perfectly written. He's playing Mario Kart essentially with a real car. And then someone claps for him, and the reveal is that it's Lizzie Borden. So that she's moved on to the next generation because she wasn't successful with that generation, or it's the mental disease is within him. I actually do like that twist. Usually I get frustrated with those twists in horror movies because I feel if done in poor taste, it invalidates the central character's journey. What's the whole point of trying to get away from zombies to get to the island if you get to the island and there's zombies? Why did I watch this movie? You know, they're all gonna die anyway. So, but this really treats the central character with respect because she made it through her trauma. She made it through her battle. We move on to the next generation. I actually really, really liked that, and I thought it was a great ending to the film. What do you think, Chris?
Great.
Well, I think if we look at it from the standpoint of our discussion of, is it supernatural, is it mental illness, I think the supernatural aspect sets up kind of the idea of like the women in this family being possessed by Lizzie Borden, which almost the ending, because it's the brother, sets up more of the, no, this is a mental illness. This is a mental illness that needs to be addressed.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Chris Cookson, Thomas Blakely, guys, staff from InkTip, love InkTip. So excited that you guys are sponsoring Script Summit, which, by the way, if you're out there listening to this, you can submit to right now exclusively on Coverfly. Winners from Script Summit get a listing on InkTip, and you guys also provide us exclusive gigs that our members are able to get access to, which is thrilling.